everyone. This is Angel Burton, and you're listening to the Realm of Shadow and Light podcast. Today, I have a very special guest joining me, the one, the only EA Koetting.
Hello. This is EA Koetting. I'm excited to be here with you, Angel, and have this conversation. I know that you have been working with one of my favorite spirits in the whole existence, which is Azazel. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about Azazel today and kind of just shoot the ball wherever it wants to go. But yeah, how's your day going for you?
It's going really well. Thank you so much for coming on. I did want to give a little back history to how I ended up meeting you. You actually are the first person, and you know this because we talked about this, the first person I ever came across in the left-hand path because of Azazel. I had this name of this being, and I'm like, who is this? And when I started, this was way back when you had all the YouTube videos, and you for some reason, your videos always called to me, which led to me joining the Become a Living God forum. And then I guess here we are now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, that's awesome. Well, and then also, you've taken your love for Azazel and started sharing that with other people and making them fall in love with him as well. So,
Yeah.
well, can we actually back up and say, okay, so that's crazy that you got the name for Azazel before you even knew who he was. How'd that come about?
Right. I don't even know. Okay, so it's actually kind of traumatic. I found out that my ex-husband was cheating on me, right? And that night, I decided, you know what? I've always did some kind of witchcraft or something since I was a child. Being a medium, I've always had at least spirits coming to me, and I started reading tarot cards at 13 as playing cards, because as you know, you have to hide that stuff, you know? And then I was like, you know what? I am going to just go for it. I bought an actual real tarot card. You know, I knew I was going to be moving and getting divorced and all that. And that was it. And then, within a couple of days, I got a really cold feeling on the back of my neck, which I hate being touched by spirits. But that was it. And I was like, really, it's going to be this fast, you know? And then I just started, feeling this presence. And it was weird because honestly, coming from my background, which I should probably talk about this as you are as well, coming from being a Mormon, being visited from spirit children's one thing, but when you get this random name, I was like, huh. But it actually goes even farther back than that. When I was 13, I had a dream that I was walking in these temple ruins with some guy, you know, and he was talking to me, guiding me. And at the end of the conversation, he never told me his name, nor was I ready. You know, I kind of was just like, no. He picked up a busted head of Lucifer and said, he is not who you think he is, you know. And then it comes out, it was his gate. It was the ruins of a temple, you know, stuff like that. So that was when I was 13. I kind of put that to the back burner. But then when I actually allowed myself to see who was coming to me, I was like, you're the same person. What's your name? And then that started the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Okay, so because I called on Azazel once to help me with a publishing contract that was having issues. So that it was just kind of passing. But then when he showed up in my gatekeeper working after I was working with Belial, and Azazel started showing up, and I started researching him, I got scared. I'm gonna be honest. My head was really messing with me, where it was like, is he trying to take my soul? Like, is this finally the thing everybody's warned me about? And
Yeah.
so I brought that to Azazel, where I was like, look, I'm terrified of you, and I
Yeah.
think you're gonna try to trick me, but I'm still willing to take the chance because I think what you have to teach me is so great. And I asked Azazel once. I said, "Are you? All the religions say that you're the worst guy. Are you? Are you?" And he says, "No, I'm the best friend you have ever had." And I think that now that I've worked with him for a long time, for over a decade, I agree with that. He's the best friend our species has ever had. And I think that the churches are all trying to keep us away from him because they know what he can unlock in us.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, because when I started, Googling him when you don't know who he is, when you're not prepared, and all, because I wasn't even 100% sure I was going to even go that way, because I'm very much a hedge, hearth, house witch, you know, that kind of stuff. So when I started Googling him and really seeing it, because you're not really taught about him because of what he has to offer, I was like, he's one bad dude, you know? But then I started seeing your videos and I'm like, huh, okay. So I'm like, all right, let's have a conversation. And then, like, as this goes down, I'm like, why am I trusting this demon? Because I feel like I trust him more than I do any other person in the world, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just crazy how I think it's more of a brainwashing of society when it comes to
Mhm.
this than anything else. I mean, I'm sure if you got on his bad side, you're in trouble, you know?
But now I don't get the chance to talk to too many
Hmm.
ex-Mormons who become black
Hmm.
magicians. This is actually
Hmm.
really cool. So
Yeah.
so all right, so let's because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who listen to this who have no idea what's going on in the Mormon church, but it is
Yeah.
really, really superstitious. Like there are, like you said, your spirit, if you're supposed to have children, those children can visit you in their spirit form, even as adults, and you'll have it's like a whole thing. Like they do have very that you can absolutely heal the sick and raise the dead. And this is all things that you can do with the priesthood or the power of prayer. And so I think that was really cool to come from that. I needed that kind of
Yeah.
religion to become who I became. When did you leave the church?
So I actually left the church officially when I found out my husband was cheating on me. So 2019. So like all that happened at once. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I would also come across a male ex-Mormon just because being female, how you're raised, like I'm going to hell no matter what because I am not married to a key holder. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was just interesting that that was kind of the way it was going, you know. And you don't see a lot of people, you know, you see a lot of people that hate the church, but don't go into what we go into, you know.
Well, yeah, most people will go away from the church and just go into like atheism or whatever that it's like
Mhm.
they don't want to believe in anything because they've been
Yeah.
so misled. But it's like, dude, but there's something and I didn't have this from my dad growing up. My dad was not in touch with the spirit or anything like that.
Mhm.
He was just doing the actions.
Yeah.
But when I got older, I met people that could wield the priesthood like sorcery,
Mhm.
cast full on casting the demons of sickness out of people, and they instantly get better, healing people, literally seeing people who couldn't walk standing up and walking. And they don't do the really cool thing about this in Mormonism that I think is different than a lot of the other things is in Mormonism, the people who are doing it are
Mhm.
crying because they're humbled by the power coming through them. They're not showing it off and being like,
Yeah.
look at me, be
Yeah.
healed by the Lord. They're actually bawling their eyes out because there's a
Mhm.
power moving through them. And that really,
Mhm.
so I did get to hold the Melchizedek priesthood, and
Mhm.
I got to learn from a guy who was really close to being excommunicated. He taught me
Okay.
how to really use it. And he's like, don't think about what you want to say. It's not you at all. Get you out of there and let the Spirit of God come through, and you become His mouthpiece. Right. And the dog agrees.
Yeah, he does. He's like, yeah.
But yeah, so that really unlocked me going forward with all magic is like because I only did when I went back to the church, I was trying to get married to this girl, and so I went and got the priesthood. I was about to go on a mission and all of that. Then it became very clear to me that I was what became clear to me is that the Mormon church has, by Joseph Smith's own admission,
Mhm.
10% of the truth.
Yeah.
He said he received 10% of God's truth.
Mhm.
From that, he gave 10% of that to his people because that's all they could handle. And so with that, they're living with a fraction of truth. And I think that's true with almost every system. And that's why you have to look at all these different systems and form your
Mhm.
own truth.
Mhm.
That was a tangent.
No, no, it's fine. Yeah, and you know, honestly, this probably will reach people that are kind of in that, you know, area too, because, you know, well, I emailed you about leaving the church because, again, I'm not, as a female, not given those keys or the knowledge to know how to do that, you know. What really made me leave the church was I was getting divorced and they're like, okay, we're going to put you in a single ward, you know, and I'm like, so they're just going to marry me off, you know, which they're worried about my soul. I mean, I get it, but you kind of don't want to come out of a marriage that was so traumatic just to get into another one to start having babies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and really that is what it is as a female in Mormonism is my job is to bring the women or bring babies into the world
Mm-hmm.
and support my husband, you know, and that's how I get to heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really interesting because like when you look at the beginnings of religion,
Mhm.
so Moses' sister was a prophetess, and she was known
Mhm.
to be as powerful as Moses was. She doesn't get talked about because the patriarchal system likes to squash that. Same thing with Mormonism though, because Joseph Smith had Emma Smith was a prophetess. He called her a prophetess, and she actually had the priesthood equal to him in his original days. He was a wild man. Joseph Smith was an
Yep.
anarchist. He
Yeah.
was out there giving the priesthood to freaking everybody.
Yep.
which is how it should be. Because that is one of the things that's really interesting in the Doctrine and Covenants that is written in
Okay.
there. I can't remember exactly where. Section 89, I think. It says
Maybe, yeah.
something. Yeah, so it says something about how the priesthood is given to you by your humanity, by the fact that you were born as a human. You by that have that you're a son of Adam. That you're a son of Adam. Therefore, you have the priesthood. And so it is an interesting thing where it's like you don't need the ordination. And just like it's like any initiation,
Mhm.
all initiations are best gotten from the gods themselves. That you go to the gods themselves, hey, put your hands on me and give me this.
Yeah.
Coming through any other mortal is filtering it through a weak filter.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that. Because a lot of my oracle actually comes from Apollo himself, you know. But I use cards just because somebody's not gonna be like, if I told you, and I've told you, I'm like, I've had these weird visions, you know. We're not gonna go into them because they were for you. But most people don't believe them, so I like have to lay the cards out so that they see in the cards, and of course the cards are gonna fall exactly what I saw. But it's because Apollo thought I could do this. So now I'm like, oh, there's something weird going on. And I've used it a lot in the forum actually, when I'm like, oh, there's something not right, you know. And then sure enough, something happens.
Yeah, no, that's it's funny because everybody starts to realize you're
Mhm.
psychic by not paying attention to it. When you don't listen to it, that's when things fall apart. You're like, I should have turned left. Damn it, I knew I should have turned left every time. But then you start to do it. It is interesting because you do start to, as you pay attention to that, it does get clearer, it gets
Mhm.
more direct, and it gets earlier. Because at first it's actually it's like you catch it just at the wrong time. It's like, dang it, if I
Mhm.
would have got 2 seconds earlier.
Yeah.
As you pay attention to it, your psychic sense does get sooner and sooner until you're getting. It's actually spooky what you can navigate
Mhm.
through, and when it does feel like I'm walking around like a Jedi sometimes. I'm just like
Uh-huh.
making red lights turn green, making people who are angry happy with me. Just it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. One that was really, really freaky for me, and this, I think this is when you still had YouTube. I had been talking to somebody else in the forum, and I'm like, I saw this like ritual, and I think you and JS ended up doing it, and it was like an invite only thing. I think it was a while ago, and I mentioned it to my friend. A week later, they sent me the link to that, and I was like, no way, no way, you know.
Yeah, awesome. So JS Garrett is something else. He's a lot of people. When most people that I get into ritual with, they're holding themselves back. Like
Mhm.
I can feel it, I can see it, and it's clear. Like you don't want to make a fool of yourself. You don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to cry in front of other people and shit. JS doesn't care.
Yeah.
He will cry in front of you. He will get angry and throw stuff at the wall. He'll pin somebody against the wall and threaten to kill him if he has to. Like I've seen this dude just go, and at the same time, he is so intense in his love and his hate and all of it. He is just an intense college, and I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely.
I don't remember what ritual that was though. If
I
that
don't.
was,
You know what? And now that it's not on YouTube, but it was the weirdest thing because you guys were talking about it, and it was like going to be like from like invite only. So you guys were gonna invite only. So I'm assuming past like boot camp members, stuff like
yeah,
that. But I don't either. But I mean, I literally just saw that. I mean, I couldn't. I wasn't going to be a part of it, so I can't see what I'm not part of, which makes sense, you know. There's no point in me having knowledge that I'm not going to be a part of, you know? But I had that, and I'm like, that is so creepy that I had this because it was literally like exactly how you guys talked about it. I saw it. So I was like, that is so cool, you
that
know?
is awesome. That is,
Yeah, I can't for the life of me remember what it was, you know? But yeah, they literally like sent me the link and they're like, watch this. And I was like, wow.
oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
But doing that when Timothy and I first started Become a Living God, he just sent me a camera because he was like, yeah, you want to do some. He asked me, he's like, yeah, you want to do some videos of magic, and I was like, yeah, sure. Send your camera crew over. Send
Mhm.
your crew over. We'll do it. So instead, he mails me a camera. And he's like,
Mhm.
get to work, buddy. And I'm like, I don't know how to do a camera. What are you talking about? So I propped this camera up on my couch and I'm like standing in front of my couch. Got a sheet behind me that's like all folded up. You can see the little squares because I just got it from Walmart. It was ridiculous. But then I do a couple of those where I just talk about magic. I talk about some of the main things of my beliefs and stuff. But then he goes, all right, so now, and that was uncomfortable for me to throw stuff on YouTube and like Nobody was doing it. Nobody was talking about magic that openly. And so it was like, I was already uncomfortable with that. But then he goes, all right, now start doing rituals. And I was like, oh, you want me to film rituals? That's a whole story. I'm like, I don't know if we should be doing this. I don't know if the spirits are going to be okay with it. I don't know if, like, it seems like you're taking a camera into a sacred space. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're black magicians. Like, let's desecrate the sacred spaces. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
dude. It's like, oh, okay, all right. And so that was a really huge challenge for me to take. But I think
Mhm.
that is what changed everything. That's what
Mhm.
changed everything. Was it's not just me talking about the things that I think. It's people being able to see me doing rituals, to understand, like, no, it's not like a demon appears in front of you. It's something
Yeah.
comes over you and changes the
Yeah.
entire atmosphere. And I think
Yeah.
people being able to see how I do rituals allowed people to have a framework to find their own way of doing rituals. But even for
Mhm.
people who didn't do rituals, this is the fun part for me.
Mhm.
They're getting into magic even if they don't do a single ritual, just by watching the video. They're if I'm doing a ritual of Azazel and they're watching that video, Azazel's spirit is with them. So I
Yeah.
love that. It is like spreading the spirits as far as we can through the internet.
So I have a funny story with your TikTok lives, right?
Yeah,
Never fails. Right when I get in, within 3 minutes, you're calling Azazel for something.
that's fun.
Every time. It's been doing this since I went to you about the study group that I'm running, right? In the forum. Every time I hop on, because obviously you don't know I'm there yet because you're not getting really live feed.
Yeah,
Within 3 minutes, you're calling him. And I'm like, well, that's not like a sign at all, like ever.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, TikTok moves so fast. There's so many people on there that the chat moves so fast, but it is fun. It's like it is a bit like a mental exercise, like of
Okay.
just like catching questions and answering them, and oh, dude, it's nuts. It's crazy. It's like I never thought I'd be doing any of this. I thought I was going to be, when I made my deal with Azazel to make me
Mhm.
be a magician for the rest of my life. I thought I was just going to be writing books and maybe doing
Yeah.
emails, but like it is fun. All the extra stuff that has come my way, and that's something, I'll tell you what, that is something though. When you're trying to
Mhm.
manifest something, you do have to leave it open. Like, you're not, if you keep it narrow on, like, I only want to just sit behind a typewriter and write books, you're probably not going to be very successful. I couldn't make a living off of just writing books,
No,
but all the other things that have just come up, that it's like, somebody asked if I could do rituals for hire. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. And then I
absolutely.
hit up the Azazel, and he was like, yeah, you actually need to open the gates for people. That's the only job you have. I've come to understand that very clearly. That is my one job, open the gates.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every time Azazel shows up, I'm like, oh, here we go. Actually, I need to shout out your fiance. She is
Okay.
probably one of the reasons why I'm so eager to like do this part of it, because I've always kind of stayed in like the shadows and stuff. Because there is like this misconception that you can't be a house witch and on the left hand. You know what I'm saying? And I've told you guys this all the time. You are probably my favorite couple because
She says to say hello to you, by the way.
yeah, yeah, I adore Zerafina. Like, she's probably one of the sweetest women I have ever met.
She really is. She really is. And she is, she does have that ability to be absolutely the sweetest person I've ever come across. Just absolutely loving. And she can curse somebody like I've never
Mm,
seen.
mhm.
It's been really ridiculous when somebody really pisses her off. She's like, I'm going to put him in a
Yep,
jar. I'm like, all right, baby, you do what you got to do.
yeah,
You can watch that person's life fall apart in real time. Like, in the next days, it's like,
yeah,
oh man. So it is. I think I think that that's a great balance to have. Is nice. I'm a friendly dude, but I can snap. I can lose my.
yeah,
I can snap on people, and I've seen that as myself. It's like I've got mostly a light side, but that dark side is just as dark. And
huh?
Seraphina's got something similar. And I think that is,
Yeah,
yeah. You can be like the house witch. You can be the Asian witch, and she's
yeah,
got a kitty that she loves. That's her. I think
yeah,
it's her familiar and whatever. And at the same time, she can become the dark goddess when she needs to. I love that about
yeah,
her.
absolutely. And I think that's really how it's supposed to be, is that balance between the masculine and feminine. And also, too, a lot of it is like if somebody messes with my partner, I'm gonna destroy him. Like, he doesn't need to do a thing. I got it. And everybody's like, but you're so sweet. I'm like, well, that's normally me, but now you're messing with like my house. You don't mess with a house
Yeah.
witch's house, you
Well,
know?
well, it's funny. It's funny because I will let a million things go. That's not important. She will get. She's like, no, these people are taking advantage of you, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'm like, well,
Yep.
okay, baby, okay. So yeah, that's. But I'll tell you what, and I know that I need somebody like that because I often will let myself get taken advantage of, and I won't say
Yep.
anything about it. And so yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
My favorite quote is behind every great man, there's a great woman because of
yeah,
that balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to go into the
sure.
deeper part of that quote because that's more back in the day, but nowadays, especially when it comes to what we do, because I would have always just stayed in the background, but then I'm like, wait, there's more women like me, we're not,
So
you know?
all right, so this is where I'm going to get like kind of out in the weeds, maybe, but I think that there's a program that's going on that's trying to eliminate the human race by getting men and women to hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't. This is either the AI systems that are doing this or reptilians, because I don't think this could be humans, because it is going to be the extinction of the human race if we stop loving each other.
Yes.
That is like 100%. Like it's really interesting to notice this too, to stand back and watch what happens online, and you can
Mhm.
see how fake it is. That you've got
Yeah.
this red pill manosphere that hates women, and these women that are hating men, and it's mostly fake. Most of those people aren't even real people. That this is a program that's being pushed to try to influence us to hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more we can look across, so I've got a buddy here that's staying. He's leaving today. This is his last
Mm-hmm.
day, but he was doing yoga with me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of yoga, we bowed to each other and said namaste.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told him, namaste means it is that the God, the divine within me, recognizes the divine within you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same divine. It's the same God. And so it's that same God being recognizing itself through two different bodies. And I think the more we can get to that, the better it is. But there are massive repercussions for society if we all start loving each other. Like it's going to tear apart our society if we love each other, because that's going to take away war, that's going to take away greed, that's going to take away poverty, because all it takes is love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is why all of the entire system wants us to hate. They want Democrats to hate Republicans, even though they're the exact same people at the core. You're the exact same God underneath. They want men to hate women. It's the exact same divine presence manifested differently through us, and I think that needs to be honored.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely believe it. I absolutely believe that.
So with that, I'll tell you what, I had when I was in the middle of the gatekeeper operation,
Mm-hmm.
all 9 gatekeepers, Asenath Mason hit me up and she says, these are the 9 most powerful deities. I was like, yeah. She goes, well, why are they all men? I was like, that's a great question. As I thought about it, I was like, well, because I'm a man. And
Yep.
so that's how they manifest to me. When I've gone to therapists, I work much better with male therapists.
Mm-hmm.
I work well with that father figure that can guide me through the things I need. That's why Azazel appears as that father figure. Azazel can also appear as a female. He's been a goddess in previous incarnations, and so he has appeared to people as a female. So, but to me, they all manifest. So what I told Asenath at that point, I was like, because that's how it's filtering through my essence. So you need to filter it through yours, and
Yep.
she has. And so since then, she's come out with goddess books. She's got another goddess book that's on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the thing. It's like I don't feel like I'm the expert at the goddess. And to be completely honest with you, other than my relationship with my daughter and with Zeraphina, my relationships with every other woman, including my mother's, has been awful. And so I don't have a good perspective on the goddess. I'm still getting to learn I'm still getting to learn to worship and adore her and not hate her. Yeah. And so it is. But I think with that, there is a call that a lot of female practitioners are feeling to honor the goddess and to speak her names and to let people know about her and to manifest that through their lives. And I think that's exactly as it should be.
Yep.
And with
Yep.
that, the feeling that I'm getting and I'm hearing from a lot of women is that the goddess is returning with a vengeance. And I believe it. I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Because it's funny because the gatekeepers are all male to me because obviously that's the only way I listen. But no, I'm dead serious. I'm really so. But my most dear is going to be Lilith, Nama. Hecate, Artemis, those are the ones that I actually work with. So it's just interesting that you said that, because if I'm not listening to Azazel, guess who's coming? Nama is,
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Well, that's there's actually a magical principle you just barely brought out there.
Mhm.
The obvious one is the male demon who's speaking to you in his loud voice and thunder and the big da 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 da. You have to let that go silent and get a bit quiet to see the goddess. The goddess is a bit hidden. The god is always really, here I am, listen to me. And it's like really obvious to look at the god because he makes himself obvious. But
Yeah.
it's like once the god shuts up and once we shut, then we can connect with the goddess. So that's interesting. Well, cool. Well, how's the Azazel group, study group going? Are you guys active and doing stuff?
Yeah, actually, so I was told not to share mine at all until the end, because I think you and I are going to talk about it first, and then I'm going to post it in there. But yeah, it kind of isn't led at all ever since I got that. And I get people popping in. There actually just was a post the other day with somebody updating. So I actually have to go through and see how many people did update. But yeah, it keeps going. And it actually brought a lot of people to it. And now I think after this one, I want to go to Kingdom of Flames. I don't know why it's always your older books,
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
the one's the Kingdom of Flames. I'm just like, oh, okay, I want to look at that one now.
Well, and to think about that, I think my older books, I was giving a lot of the cornerstone practices and the spirits and
Mhm.
sigils, whereas
Yeah.
as it went on, now I'm kind of getting into more of refining the practice and the techniques
Yeah,
and perfecting it. And so I can see why that would make sense. And
I'm going
Kingdoms of
back.
Flame is nutty.
Yeah.
So 100%. As you're working through Kingdoms of Flame, and whether and this goes for anybody working with Kingdoms of Flame, do
Yeah.
take fire responsibilities seriously. Because I've had
Yes.
people who are working with Kingdoms of Flame and they've had their candles explode, their incense coals explode and light stuff on fire. One girl almost had her house burned down while she was sleeping. So be
Mhm.
very careful. Like Kingdoms of Flame, like the
Got it.
flame is not just spiritual, but it can manifest very physically for you. And with that,
Mhm.
definitely use fire to your advantage in this, but be responsible. I hate when people burn themselves down when using my rituals.
Yeah, so I should be really careful because I'm usually catching stuff on fire anyways. Fire is definitely one of my favorite elements to work with, even though I'm more of a wind, earth type of person. When I am casting, especially when I'm going dark and baneful, I get these flames. And I remember one time I was pissed. And when you're not supposed to really be doing rituals, and I did a spell. It was one of those ones that ends in we can't really talk about kind of thing, which it did come to pass. But I had lit it up, I had put everything in. Usually, it doesn't really flame, right? This thing blew up to the ceiling, and I was just like, whoa. 6 months later, I found out that it worked. But yeah, smoke alarm, because I was in the apartment, so the smoke alarms went off, the sprinklers went off. I was like, ooh, whoops.
Have you checked out anything from my Ars Zoesha release?
Not yet. I need to.
You'd love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you some links after we're done talking. I'll email you some
Okay.
links because it's off the charts. It's right up your alley. So the entire thing is it's demonic magic that
Mhm.
Satan revealed to Martin McGregor and I together. It's funny
Mhm.
because he would tell me I'd invoke Satan. We would meet every single week, and so like Martin
Mhm.
and I would, and so through the week we'd work
Mhm.
with Satan, see what he was directing us to do, and then at the end of the week we'd compare notes, and it was the exact same wording and everything that was coming through. But
Okay.
it does rely heavily on fire as the gateway. So with that,
Mhm.
I've gone in my backyard. I took a hoe and a shovel and dug out
Mhm.
a trench of a circle that I fill up with water, and then a
Mhm.
trench of a triangle that I fill up with fuel. Not
Okay.
gasoline. Just so if anybody wants to try this at home, don't use gasoline. Use white gas or Coleman Camp fuel is what I'll use.
Okay.
And so I'll just drench the triangle in that and then light it on fire.
Mhm.
And inside the circle, I call whatever demons I want to call, or I'll build an idol. I'll create the powers that I want to work with.
Mhm.
And as soon as they're at their peak, then I light the triangle on fire and I step inside the triangle and let myself get possessed by the things that I've called up in the circle because they just like shoot
Mhm.
out of the circle into the triangle into you. But it
Mhm.
is a nutty experience to
Yeah.
be standing with fire all around you, up to your eyeballs. There's just flames
Yeah.
everywhere. There's no doubt in that moment that you are inside of an infernal gateway. And some of the most crazy experiences and visions and understandings have hit me. At some point, like I said, I'm gonna send you some links after we're done
Yeah,
talking.
I'm gonna try it. Yeah,
But at some point you need to do that, and if you can't find space to, then you got to come out from my boot camp and do it out here because I've got the space
definitely.
for it. I've got the setup. It is it is well. First off, one of the things that happens in there, you light the fire, and every
Mhm.
instinct in you is like, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is dangerous. I'm gonna light the whole forest on fire or whatever. But you kind of have to stand there and gather your courage, focus again on what you're trying to accomplish, and then stepping into the fire where you're completely surrounded by it. It is really surrealistic where it's, again, every instinct is telling you to get out of there and to run, but
Mhm.
your spiritual instinct is just soaking it all in and loving it. And so it's a really interesting conflict that happens inside yourself in that I think produces a really magical effect. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I definitely am gonna have
Yeah.
to. I probably will have to. I probably would have to go out for a boot camp because I could just
Oh,
see
yeah.
my neighbors loving that one.
Yeah. No, most people, I think, most people would freak out. Like, well, and yeah. Well, it was really interesting because LV Alchemist came out and
Mhm.
he did this ritual with me and he took some pictures. You know, we had video of it, and so I sent him a video, and so he took some screenshots and some pictures and put it up on his Facebook.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, he had all of his family hitting him up and being like, "Look, son, you've gone too far." Because it's me and him in black robes standing inside of a triangle of fire. And they're like, "You've gone too far. This is the real deal. You've been playing up until now." But there is something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
when you're in black robes standing in a triangle of fire, there is that recognition. Okay, I've crossed the line. This is the
Yeah.
real. It doesn't get more of standing inside of a demonic gateway than this, and it
Yeah.
does. And you can see all kinds of things happening inside the flames, inside all the smoke. But more than anything, it is like everything is elevated. You are taken into a gateway that pushes you into your highest self. It seems like.
Yeah. I definitely. With these last hurricanes, like we got plummets, right? Lost, and both Helene and Milton was internet. That was it. We didn't even lose power. I'll have to send you the picture that my kid took of the drone video of my neighborhood. Everything around where I lived was flooded except for us. Yeah.
So this is for anybody that might not believe these kinds of stories, this
Yeah.
stuff happens all the time. I had this publisher, Nola Magic Press was the name of the publisher. I don't think it's in business anymore, but
Mhm.
they were in New Orleans, right on Bourbon Street,
Mhm.
when the hurricane hit there and the dam broke and all of that stuff that went
Mhm.
on there. It all got flooded. He specifically did I can't remember what spirit he used, but he did some sort of evocation and surrounded his place. And you can, same thing. He showed me a map and he's like, see all the flooding, every one of these places except for his, and his was actually a basement that should have flooded, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And so yeah, 100%. This kind of stuff happens constantly. Same thing with fires. I had somebody that just hit me up from California that all of their neighbors' houses just burned down in a fire, but theirs is pristine.
Perfect. I mean, you're like, I feel sorry for the people. It was like when I was explaining to my mom. I was like, yeah, just to protect myself, you have to be okay that it has to go somewhere.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, that's just what's going to happen. Here, I don't think it was too bad life loss wise, but Tropicana Field, which is where the baseball team got knocked out. And actually the mall that I worked at before I got into the car accident, it sustained damage too. I was like, oops.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. What do you think is going on with that? What do you think is going on with all these storms and all the weather and everything?
So this is just me being like the nature witch. I think the earth is trying to send a message out too. Like, I definitely think I've heard some crazy things, like people saying that the government's controlling the storms, but I think with the way weather is still able to be manipulated, this is coming from the earth goddess. It's coming from Gaia or whoever you want to believe. She's saying, hey, look, this is not what you're here for, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, really, I really wonder about all this evolution and progress that we're doing and if it's a good thing. Like, I
yeah,
think maybe we should figure out how to just live as simply as possible. Like, I don't know. That's
yeah,
more. It's like, I don't think we're going in a good direction. And I can see some of the worries, like Elon Musk, he's like, well, if we don't get off this planet, eventually, we're gonna die. And it's like, well, welcome to reality, buddy. Like everything
Then
dies. And so
yeah.
whether it's a person or a civilization or a planet, everything dies. And I think I kind of feel this way with a lot of the medical field as well, where it's like there's a whole lot of fear of dying. And that's really built into, like, as a culture, we haven't integrated that this is just a small spot along our journey. And so
Yeah.
it's okay that this
Yeah.
ends. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know we live in mortal bodies. The soul is immortal. Your body's not. Why would I? My body's broken. I have lupus. Why would I want to live in this forever? You know, like, no, I'm completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think people forget that. I think people get so stuck on chasing immortality that they chase it for here and now and not realizing that this is just something, like, I wouldn't want to see Earth itself be wiped out just because of nature, spirits, animals, stuff like that. But a good reset is something that I do see kind of happening as well, you know?
For sure. For sure. Yeah, no, it would be it would definitely be sad if the whole world got just
Yeah,
wiped out. If like the
yeah,
whole thing
I was
was
just like, I'm done. You're done.
yeah, for sure. But that's interesting. I don't know if you saw the movie with Keanu Reeves.
Mhm.
The what is it? The man from some dang it, I don't know. Keanu Reeves is like an alien that
Yeah.
comes to humanity, and he goes, yeah, he goes, don't worry, we're here to save the world. And she goes, so humanity's gonna be all right. He goes, no, 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 humanity's gotta go. We're here to save the world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, that seems like that's the position. I don't mean to get all environmental on everybody,
No,
but that is
yeah.
the position we've put ourselves in, where we have become the biggest threat to the world, and we have been for quite a while. And so I do think, yeah, Gaia is sending us a lot of messages about that. And even so, let's take a little turn in the conversation. Aliens, when people have alien abduction experiences and they recover those memories, or if they, I know several people who don't, the brainwashing and the stuff doesn't work, and so
Yeah.
they're awake the whole time. And so
Well,
what they
yeah.
report is that these aliens are very, very worried about our planet. That they're like, hey, you guys got to worry, stop the nukes, and they're not
Yeah.
worried. That this is the big thing that's really frustrating about it, though. The concern isn't when we were kids in
Mhm.
school and they were telling us about the environment and about the ozone layer and stuff. They really put a lot of blame on the individual. So this is because we're
Mhm.
littering and that we're, putting too much trash in the landfills and that we're using hairspray. No, no, no. It's corporations blowing huge amounts of smoke into the atmosphere and burying waste into the soil and dumping things into the water. Like, it's very obviously, it's not us individuals. Same thing with war. I am so anti-war that
Mhm.
war is so ridiculous. No human beings, this isn't a natural thing that human beings want to do, is go get together with a bunch of human beings and kill a bunch of other human beings. That's not what we want to do. But that's what the governments force us to do. And so it's like, with all of those, here's the big thing I'm really loving, though. The power structure is
Mhm.
crumbling. And I think that this is,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that this is all just the demons and black magic, but I do think that's a big part of it, that we can see the power structure is crumbling, things are starting to move and evolve, but it's going to be a painful process for people who want to cling on to the past, because everything is changing
Yeah.
really fast.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually working on, like, I guess they're going to turn into books. I don't even know. There are a bunch of pieces of paper right now, right? All of it's going back to, like, foraging and growing your own food and stuff like that. Because that's what I keep being told is you need to reach out to people for them to learn to take care of themselves. Learn to use your hands, start a fire, cook on a fire, start, make bread from home, which has a lot to do with me being a kitchen witch too. But it really is like, what happens if you buy dry herbs, but now there's no grocery store? You have to know how to keep the plants alive to do it, which in turn brings the earth back into a new cycle, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. It's interesting because, like, the past couple years, specifically this past year, I've just intuitively been drawn to, because I'm in southern Utah, Southwest
Mhm,
desert. And so with that, I've been drawn to the Native
mhm.
American teachings, and it's like some of their spirit, a lot of their spiritual teachings, but
Okay.
also like how to gather and eat, how to eat cactus, how to
Mhm.
use the different plants that are around me for food and for medicine and for magic and whatever. I think we're being prepared for something that's coming. I think we're being prepared for something that's coming. And I'm not going to say like I'm predicting like apocalypse or war. I do predict
Yeah.
apocalypse, but apocalypse
Yeah.
means a revelation. It means,
Yeah.
seeing the truth. And I think that's happening on a massive level. I do think that we are up for some disruptions for sure.
Yeah, I
That
think so too.
it's interesting how fragile our whole ecosystem of our society is. We like take it for granted that we can just jump in our
Mhm.
cars and go where we want to go and turn on the electricity and the stuff will come on. But this has been
Yeah.
only the last like century. It's
Mhm.
crazy that we've gotten so used to it that quickly. That it really boggles my mind about cars. That one dude
Yeah.
makes a car and then he starts making cars, and before you know it, every single person in the world is driving a car. It's nutty how
Mhm.
we take. It's like we're replicators. We take things from
Yeah.
other people and make it a little bit better, make it our own, and replicate and replicate. So it's crazy. We're a nutty species.
Yeah, for sure. Ever since I got in my car accident, I think I've driven 3 times. Like,
Okay.
because I'm not going back to my work anymore. I'm working from home, doing all that stuff. I'm within walking distance to my grocery store and stuff like that. I'm in Florida, so it's a little hot. But yeah, I think I've driven 3 times since I've gotten into the car accident. Not because I don't have my car. My car is fine. It's in the driveway. Like, that's a whole nother story about being protected because I should not have my car. Because I swear I hit going really fast. You know what I'm saying? But it's because I feel like it's just easier to walk, you know? And also, I noticed, like, with horses, for example, they need something to do, you know?
Yeah. So Lucifer, when I was 19 and I really started breaking through, making contact with Lucifer, he told me to walk more. He's like, you need to start walking. And I had my car was a 1965 Chevy Bel Air. I loved it. I was
Mhm.
restoring it. It was like a badass
Mhm.
car. I loved driving around. And he's like, yeah, you need to park your car and walk. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do that. I want to drive my cool car. And so I got in a crazy car accident where this dude pulled out in front of me as I'm
Mhm.
going on the road, and I change lanes and get out of his way, and he pulls in front of me again and stops, and so I hit him. So it was, and then when I get out of the car, this dude is in a daze. He looked like he had spirals in his eyes. He's just
Yeah.
like he was possessed. And
Yeah.
so that car was totaled. Lost that car. I had to walk then. This is
Yeah.
one of the things when you put yourself into league with these spirits and they tell you to
Yeah.
do something, you're better off just doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so then I start walking to work. It was a 45-minute walk to work every morning, a 45-minute walk home. And so that was like, that's a long way to walk. I started taking that time. I'd bring a book with me. I read a lot of books on magic while I was walking.
Yeah.
I would think about the things I was reading, think about magic. I would imagine the rituals I'm going to do when I get home from work. And so having that time to walk slowed me down in so many ways that I needed, that I wasn't just trying to get to the next stoplight. I was like in the moment more than ever when
Yeah.
I'm walking.
Yeah. And if you think about it, you're still grounding because you're walking on the ground. You're out in nature and stuff like that too. To get from my house to where our shopping center is, you literally have to go through a path through the woods. And I've seen so much wildlife that I did not realize that's still around now, just walking through, you know? Like we have parrots that have been here for like 100 years, but I haven't seen them for a while. It's because it's so built up. They're in these woods. And there was easily 200 parrots yesterday when I was walking through the woods. Yeah,
Dude, you guys have a lot of life down there in Florida. Like you've
we
got a
do.
crazy amount of living things down there.
We do. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
do. I work with the aquariums and stuff. I haven't done it in a while, but doing water rescues and stuff like that. And like just the fact that wildlife lets you save them. When they're in danger, they let you save them, you know?
Well, so I don't have like so I've got I'm in desert. It's not a lot I see, but at night I always have a feral cat for like ever
Mhm.
since I've lived here. I've had a feral cat that needs food, and so I put food out, and they know where to come. If they get hurt,
Mhm.
they'll come to my door, and I'll take care of them. I'll take them to the vet, and then put them back out in the wild, or keep them in my house if they want to stay in my house. And that's the only way. I'd never go to like a pet store and buy a pet. I don't need to. They just come to me, but they do know. I think they can just. I think animals are in some ways more magical than us because we have to try. They don't have to try. They don't have to light a candle and light incense. They're just already magical. I think we're trying to learn how to be more like the animals, and if we can pay attention to them, but they do. They know where they know who to come to. They know if they're injured. They know what house not to go to. They're not going to go to the cat hating dude that's going to shoot them. They're going to go to my house.
Yep, yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I've been doing this working with Beelzebub, and
Mhm.
it's over. It ended it in on Halloween, but
Okay.
all through the month of October, I was working with him, and I had these wasps that would come.
Mhm.
Every other time in my life, I've been terrified of wasps just because I was
Mhm.
I was always taught to be, I guess. And so I'd always shoo him away and smack him. If I could squish him, I probably would have squished him. But this time, since I had Beelzebub with me, he was like, no, Beelzebub is not the Lord of flies. He's the Lord of all that flies, all that's in the air, the Lord of the lofty places. And so he gave me a very clear signal to like, don't swat at my servants. And I was like, okay, very cool. I'll just sit here and let them buzz in my face. But then they started to be my friends. And like, so as I'm drinking coffee, I'd leave my coffee thermos out. It has a lid on it. And then there's a little coffee left over. They'd come and like drink the coffee. And I'll sit and talk to them and get to the point that they're like landing on me, and I could walk around the yard with them on my finger and stuff. Never once got stung. I've had several of them on me, and they've never stung me. But it is just the connection you can have with nature if you're in the right spirit, and I think that's what it is with the wasps, with the cats, because I've got these pros that I'm starting to get to be friends with in the area. But all of it is like, it's not necessarily the actions I do, it's the spirit that I have with it, that they can feel my feelings. And so I've got to just push that to them. It's the natural. I think that if it's going to be really hard for a person to connect to magic if they've only ever been in a city.
Yeah.
Because I had a dude come out from New Jersey for a boot camp. And I take him to this trail, park the car, and we get off, and he stands like, it was like a vampire not wanting to go over the threshold of a house. He's like, whoa, what are we doing? And I'm like, we're going to go on this trail. And he's all, I've never walked off of pavement before. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? He's like, maybe sometimes like I'll cut across the grass, but usually I just stay on the sidewalk. I'm like, are you serious right now, dude? How have you not like run through the forest, barefoot and climbed up trees? And like, this is life. I don't think you're experiencing life if you've never been in nature.
So when you were talking about crows, guess what just flew by my window? 3 crows.
A crow flew by.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Crows are, when I was really heavy into Haitian Vaudan, I saw crows were all over the place. Crows and grackles and every kind of black bird would show itself to me.
Yeah.
And this is when I was doing carpet cleaning. And so I was in a movie theater doing carpet cleaning in the movie theater. I had the work truck that I was working on out, just out in the parking lot. I come out at the end of the shift or whatever, finish the carpets, come out to the truck, and my truck was covered. It was a white truck that you couldn't see any white because it was covered in blackbirds. And I was like, what in the world? So right then I call my initiator, DePrince, and I'm like, DePrince, what the hell is going on? He goes, okay, birds are not birds. Like, they're not just animals. They're either spirits in bodies that have taken the bird body or they're messengers. That whenever you see any kind of bird, you like take that as a symbol. Even if it's the same bird you see every day, like that, there's a connection, and that is something special. That's a messenger that's coming to you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Angel, I've got to let you go. I've got to get out of here. But it's been so awesome chatting with you, though. Thank you.
It was great talking to you too. Thank you. I look forward to posting this and sharing everything, and then I'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.